How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to Muv-Luv Monday, where we're back in the Imperial's capital burns. I'm gonna have to get used to that title. It's a little kind of hard to say almost. But we are back, and things are happy-go-lucky, peaceful. Things are looking great. Japan's doing wonderfully. Nothing bad could possibly happen, right? Absolutely nothing bad. There's no looming threat. There's no doom and gloom. It's not the end of a blissful, wholesome Japan that's never been touched by the beta war in any real meaningful way. It's not totally going to fall apart all around us, and we're going to have to watch in abject horror as everything we love is ripped from us slowly, piece by piece. It's going to be great. Anyway, yep, we're at school, and just had having almost normal school moments. They're there training and learning and preparing to fight the beta wars. And remember, they're learning over the course of essentially all of middle school, high school, the same material that Takamura had to learn in a month. So they're probably obviously getting a much better education for it, but it's still pretty cool. A lot of fun stuff, lots of cool lore and Easter eggs that we're going through. Thanks for all the clarifications. I posed questions, and people have been very gratefully helping and answering them. Someone broke down the different colors of the Takamura Kazuchis and what they meant, because I kind of mentioned it, and I was mostly right. I was just off a little bit. But again, one of the reasons why I don't specifically go hunt down those answers is because I know if I go to the wiki, I might see some spoilers. So I did note that I'm getting to the point where I don't need to worry about that anymore, because I'm running out of material, because most of the material has been translated. I know there's more that hasn't been yet, and I hope it will. But for the minute, I'm running dry in the well, because I played most all the games, so that's actually a kind of cool feeling. Anyway, let's jump right into it and see more of a fun school Royal Academy life. What an a-hole.
Oh, Yamashiro さん、何が合理性だよ。全体効率と合情。劣等生に足引っ張られたくないってのが見え見えじゃない。
Oh, I thought she was talking about the teacher. No, she's talking about that one girl with the long straight hair who stood up and tried to answer the question for us.
あら意外。あんた劣等生の自覚あるんだ。
These two.
言葉のあやだよ、あや。まったくどっちの味方なんだよ、泉は。
Yui says yep, this is funny.
確かにあのトゲトゲしさは気になるけど、敵とか味方って言い過ぎじゃない？
でもさ、
山城さん以前に元はといえば秋と泉の死後が原因なんだから。
That's very, very, very true. Yeah.
ごめん、ゆい。
Yeah.
ほんとごめんね。やめてよ、二人とも。さっきも謝ってくれたじゃない。
It's so weird seeing Yui here. I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to capture her attitude very well, because obviously, she's going to grow into the person we got to know in Total Eclipse. You can see echoes of it, but right at the minute, it still feels like a completely different person. Granted, a lot of what's going to shape her are the events that are coming up, so it makes sense that she feels different. But I wonder if we're going to see that bridge get crossed, and how well is the writer going to be able to do that? Because unless it's the same writer who wrote Total Eclipse, I'm curious to know how they plan to do that.
だいたい質問聞いてなかったのは私なんだし、謝るのはこっちだよ。
No, it's not your fault. You were paying attention up until that point because they were whispering you, trying to tell them to be quiet.
もうゆいはなんていい子なんだ。
Shimako?
合理性一辺倒の冷血女も少しは見習えってのよ。
Shimako, we gotta keep an eye on this girl. Red bow girl, she's got the blush going on. She seems very invested in Yui. I feel like there's something going on there. She actually reminds me, I don't remember who it was. I'm getting a lot of flashbacks in structure to the Izumi's, her reflections when she was in her final moments, when she was having flashbacks about her training at the academy under Marimo. She had a squad that had a very similar dynamic to this, and she had that one girl who was kind of the dark-haired, kind of more kind-faced, very kind of down-to-earth flight companion who had a very strong personal interest in Izumi, let me say. Even though Izumi didn't swing that way, she made some moves, and if Shimako doesn't end up having a very similar feel, I'm gonna be just flat out shocked. Also, I also like, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but she seems to have the hair vents going on. I like that. I can approve.
やめなよアキ、人のことそんな風に言うの。やめないよ。思ったことを正直に言ってるだけだもん。でもさ、山城さんってわかりやすいよね。何かっていうと、ユイに張り合おうとするところとか。
Okay.
そんなことないよ、泉。
それ気づいていないの多分ユイだけだよ。
もう、島子まで。
Look at that smirky face here. Look at that. It's got like the normal like happy smile, but look at those eyes. She's like, Like it just seems smarmy, and I love it. Of course, I've realized during the animosity of my peers my whole life, there's no way I could miss it. However, at a Royal Guard training academy like this, overt discrimination is not tolerated. So when Yamashiro-san is the only one going out of her way to glare at me with such ferocity, I can't help but notice. Still, I barely had any interaction with her beyond some banal small talk. Even if she set her crosshairs on me, her enmity cannot be personal. I can't stop thinking of that piercing glare. Her eyes were not full of hatred, contempt, or ill will. I know that because I've been on the receiving end of such emotions countless times.
ちょっとユイ、何もそこまで思い詰めなくても。
Maybe she's gonna be the one to watch too. Maybe she's she's clearly got a very passionate feeling toward Yui. Probably is built off of animosity, but maybe it's a pure form, something that's more akin to you should be more than you are because I know your potential type of situation. But they're also like in like middle/high school. I'm not really sure where they fall in the age grade yet, but still.
そうなんだけど。
I doubt her animosity is motivated by personal reasons or by jealousy over her family's lower rank in the samurai hierarchy.
知ってるか高村君とは結外武器じゃないんだって。
Why is it so loud? In that case, it can only be one thing.
そうだな。ほら、ユイじゃなくてさ、何か他のことが原因なのかもよ。
So yeah,
ねえ、アキ。
it feels like the circumstances all for her are really like a lot of people take a lot of front to it, and it makes it sound like the Takamura family is brought into and has attained a very high standing as the samurai family, but it seems like they were brought in from the outside because of their contributions to the Beta War effort. So like essentially it's like, oh, we have all these ancient family traditions and this like kind of like carrying over from like post Edo period to today. Like all of these traditions and these families have been like handing down these responsibilities since then, pretty much in an unbroken chain. And then to introduce a new family and to give them like rankings above like well-established families, maybe that's the real crux of the problem, is that they are seen as upstarts, instigators, commoners who don't know their place for these families that have been like working and serving under the shogun for, you know, years and years and years, like generations essentially, and then to have somebody from a family from out of nowhere just supersede them in the chain of command, that would be pretty people would probably get real toxic about that real quick.
そう、例えば家柄コンプレックスとか。
It's like I feel like these three know, they clearly have some idea of what's going on because they're trying to rapidly change the subject now.
それってどうかな。山城家って言えばお金持ちっていうか、事業なんかでかなり手広くやって成功してるイメージだけど。
Okay.
うちみたいな貧乏武家ならともかく、あんな裕福で合理的な人が家柄にコンプレックスなんて持つかな。
Okay. So Izumi's family is like on a faltering line. That also might explain why she has a boyfriend. Because if their line is struggling and faulting and failing, they might be heavily invested in trying to like reestablish themselves through a proper marriage arrangement. And so she has a boyfriend, but it's really like a loose term for fiance, but she's not quite of age yet. So they start off as boyfriend, even though the intention is essentially, hey, you're gonna marry this guy.
でもさ、たまにニュースで見るけど、新興財閥系武家とか言われてるし。あれって完全に皮肉じゃない。そういうのって結構答えるんじゃないの？
She's like, sure. Everybody's trying to cheer me up, I know that. But when Aki and the others gossip about House Yamashiro like this, they're doing to her exactly what's being done to me. Salacious rumors are certain to gain traction and take on a life of their own. Those who bear us ill will are bound to simply assume the worst and never bother to find out the truth.
でも、山城家は部に長じた家柄でもあるよ。召喚や英士をたくさん出してて、戸様の中では上位を争うほどだし、そんな皮肉ぐらいで。
And Shimaka's very interesting. She's very traditionalist, which is again like if I'm calling it right, where she's got very personal affection and like genuine emotional feelings for Yui, it would be interesting that it would be the traditional girl. But like that's neither here nor there. I think it's great, but I still think like I'm pretty sure that's gonna be a point.
なるほど。だからか。
Oh no.
やっぱりそうだよ。部も名誉も富もある。だけど価格だけがない。だから由緒ある不代武家のお嬢には思うところがあるってわけ。
Okay, so Yui's the Takamura family is from a established history. What am I even doing? Neither I nor House Takamura have anything to be ashamed of. I have no reason to shy away from who I am and walk around this with a misplaced sense of guilt. To make matters worse, Aki, my subordinate, is trying to cover for my insecurities by freely slandering House Yamashiro, which bears no fault at all. How craven I am. It's unacceptable. I must put an end to this at once.
ゆいどうなんだろう。由緒あるって言っても高村だってもともとは戸様なのに。
Interesting. So yeah, her personal thoughts reflect very much the Yui that we see in the future. Where she's like, wait a second, that's not right. I need to stop this immediately. But her way of talking isn't reflecting her thoughts. Not very well, at least. She might be trying to steer them away, but she's literally trying to do it in a very passive, politically correct. I don't think politically correct is the proper term for this even. It's more like the socially correct. Like, she doesn't want to snap. She doesn't want to command. She doesn't want them to feel like she's upset at them. She's trying to steer them in a direction, but she's feeling revolted at the idea. But instead of expressing that revulsion and being like, hey, like, cut that out. Let's not do that. She's trying to say, well, come on. It's not that big of a deal. She's being very political about it and not as assertive as the Yui we know.
そうだったの?
Oh, you didn't know that?
知らなかったわ。戸様から不代って。でも、今の価格って関ヶ原で固定化したんじゃ。
Okay. Okay, now I was reading it a bit wrong. Now that makes a lot more sense. So she was, like, the Takamuras are part of the royal guard, samurai type families, but they were from a much lower house. They were elevated because of their recent contributions and like what they're doing in the Beta War, and that's what's shaking everything up. It's not nearly as bad as like bringing a commoner in. That probably would spark a revolt or something, but it's still pretty ridiculous.
歴史で習ったでしょ。明治から前大戦中期にかけて武家制度が混乱したって。その時に価格替えされたんだって。
Okay, so they were elevated during the Second World War. It would be pointless to try and hide it. A little research would be enough to uncover the truth. Besides, if this is enough to change their attitude toward me, then we have no hope as a team. May as well get this over with.
そんなことが本当にあったんだね。ゆい、あんた生きてる歴史だね。
でもさ、それってなんで許されたの？いくら混乱してたって結構希少価値だよね、価格替え。代々武器こしらえの勲功で江戸城三代を許されていたことが大きかったらしいよ。でも本当は引き止めだろうって父が。
Okay.
引き止めってどういうこと？
兵器開発に長けた家を近衛に留めるためだよ。当時廃化して民間で起業する技官系の戸様は多かったって。
Okay. So she's saying that like the problem became that they would raise up and train dedicated weaponsmiths and technical developments, essentially like scientists but in weapon development. But eventually what would happen is that these people who were already of high status would be developing weapons, but as soon as they got something good going, they would kind of just go do their own thing and essentially abandon their guard duties in favor of pursuing wealth and prestige and, striking out on their own. And so the Takamuras were brought in because they were very talented, even though they were of a lower caste. They proved themselves and proved loyalty, and then they were elevated as the way of saying, like, hey, here's your elevation, but you need to stick around.
ああ、言われてみれば習ったね、それ。固定化した科学制度や軍務だけに縛られるのを嫌って、民間で成功したってやつ。
Which is really interesting, this idea that, like, your career, your ability to make life choices or to be able to, like, dictate your own, wills and passions were literally chained and locked in by your family title. That's probably why these systems ultimately were abolished. I think royal lines or royal families were really good for stability in times of upheaval, chaos, and lack of communication technology. Like, it sounds kind of bizarre, but it really did prove a lifeline, despite the flaws to a royal system, to, like, having a purely heretical, like, title that moves from parent to child. It provides a backbone. Like, everyone in the nation or kingdom knows who the next leader is going to be most likely. If there are scuffles over leadership, it's usually between 2 or 3 individuals. So they might have wars, but their wars were really easy to contain. Like in feudalism, they talk about how like bloody and horrific it was, but frankly, most of the time it involved skirmishes. Not a ton of people would die in those battles because they often weren't numbers. Like having armies like bigger than like a few hundred on either side was actually pretty uncommon. Only great big wars that were brought together by entire like grand leaders, like the King of England versus the King of France, those types of wars. Those were the big ones that had large big battles and the ones that people got all romantic about. Most battles in feudal times in Europe were like border skirmishes between 2 neighboring kingdoms that would maybe result in a few deaths, but usually it was just like a tussle until people got wounded, and then they pull back, and then they kind of have a mutual agreement, or they might even have a duel just to settle things, like on a scale of combat that we always think about when it comes to like fantasy or whatever. It was very rarely on a large scale, and that kind of helps because that means that a lot of the times the common people who who formed the backbones of militias, who were going to combat wielding a spear because it was relatively easy to manage and didn't take a whole lot of skill to wield semi-effectively, and also resembled a lot of their farm tools, was about all they had. They didn't have a ton of like knights or anything, and I imagine that's very similar to some of the chaotic wartime warring states periods for Japan, where you had the different houses and the different clans and samurai, and while they would have clashes and they would have battles, I doubt that they ever escalated too much because like you can only have so many people living in small prefectures like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting to think about the history and how much we romanticized it, when if you really think about it, like there just wasn't even the population to manage that like large scale battles like we like to picture in our heads or see in fantasy. I mean, what was it like? Like in like the 1800s, like it was the first time, like 18 or 1900s was the first time that the planet crossed like the billion people line, somewhere around there. Like, for a lot of times during like the Dark Ages, like the humanity as a whole had a population of like, I don't know, like a few 100 million, like across the whole planet. Now we have like that many people living in just a single nation. It's crazy.
なんか急に歴史がいろいろ分かってきたね。ユイの話で身近に感じるからかな。
Okay, Shimako. Sure. Nobody's changed their attitude toward me, at least not for the moment. Will tomorrow be the day they turn, or will it happen further down the road, perhaps? She's so convinced that they're just gonna want to backstab her. Well, it's fine by me. I don't intend to divert attention from my own history by looking down on others.
じゃあさ、山城家は武家にとどまった上でここまで頑張ったってことか。
Yes.
武家の商業参入全面解禁は敗戦後の規制緩和以降だもんね。
そうだよ。それは山城家が誇り高い武家だって証じゃないかな。
Can you imagine before that? So like pre-World War II, you literally were tied to just guarding like the shogun family. You essentially were indentured military servants for like the royalty, the royal families. And you could not do anything else. Like if you wanted to go out and strike out on your own as a family, not just you, but like your kids and everything, you'd have to like essentially like scrub your name and like give up all like the privileges that came with it.
だから私は山城さんの言動に何か含むところがあるなんて思えない。切磋琢磨は部門の本分。家柄なんて関係ないし、ここでは何の意味も持たないよ。
Mm-hmm. At least that's what I think, what I want to think.
度胸の問題ではありません。合理性と効率の問題です。教官殿、私たちに与えられた時間は限られています。1秒でも無駄にしたくありません。したがって、訓練部隊全体の利と互助精神の両立を図りました。
It's kind of ironic because, like, I kind of agree with like the content of her statement, but she's also like, it's like it's almost cringeworthy. It's like, ooh, like you realize we're in a classroom, right? It's almost like this is a Wendy's type of situation. Yamashiro-san's fully capable and eloquently presenting her thoughts to the point of risking the instructor's anger, so I can't imagine she would be motivated by some misplaced sense of pride. I don't know. I've seen people use pride for really stupid reasons. And while that frigid glare of hers was full was full of condescension, I could feel no trace of actual malice in it. Admittedly, I don't know the first thing about her, but Yamashiro-san hardly seemed like the shallow type.
でもさ、だったらなおさら不愉快なのかもよ。だって戦後の規制緩和って逆に言えば価格を完全に固定化しちゃったわけだしさ。
Yeah, that's true. So no one could climb over each other for climbing the ranks. So it's like her family's like, no matter how hard we try, we'll never be able to overcome. Even if like in every measurable standard, we far surpassed pretty much all the royal families, like all the families like above us, up until like the super close royal guard, like the ones that can actually potentially inherit the shogun like seat itself. It's like, but nope, doesn't matter. Just to be all successful as you want, doesn't matter. Ah, fetch me.
ああ、そっか。価格が減って抜け道もう使えないしね。
Yes, Izumi is right. Trying to explain Yamashiro-san's actions without the perspective of someone from the Tozuma family was an exercise in futility. I was simply engaging in wishful thinking, deluding myself into accepting what I wanted to be true. And so again, like, maybe that's part of the issue, is that like the Takamuras were one of the last families that were able to essentially jump the system, and the method they did it was kind of, from the outside especially, would seem like blatant favoritism, and that would just make everyone really angry. No matter, I stand by my beliefs. My respect toward Yamashiro-san and House Yamashiro remains unchanged. At least one thing has become clear to me from our conversation. House Yamashiro has endured unjust mistreatment for their peers, the same as House Takamura. In fact, it's possible they've suffered worse hardships as they've worked to establish the position they enjoy today. Alright, this might make a good thumbnail. Not too sure.
それにしてもさ、泉、あんた意外に歴史詳しいんだね。びっくりし。アキ、あんたも武家の娘なんだから、せめて自分たちの歴史ぐらい少しはさ。いいんだよ。私は未来に生きるんだから。
Yeah, that's a great excuse for not wanting to learn and being lazy.
ほんと、この絵の自覚ゼロだよね。ますます自信なくなるよ。
もうまたそれやめてよ、今朝みたいな大騒ぎは。
君と二人で思い出のあの場所に行きたい。君の優しい微笑みが。
She's an odd duck.
君の優しい微笑みが柔らかい君の手のひらが僕の。
Is that a song that her man sang to her or something? Uh-oh. Or did maybe she sung it to her boyfriend? That's not too bad of a picture right there. But yeah, let's hear the story. This music is really loud. I might fix that real quick. That's surprising. Stop. It's too loud. That's still loud.
ちょっとアキ、隠し味だよ。人の手紙読むなんて。人聞き悪いな、ユイ。隣で堂々と読んでたから、話しかけた時そこだけ見えちゃったの。
Oh, man. Now that she mentions it, I've seen Izumi reading several letters recently with big smiles on her face.
あの時だって何度読んでも上の空でさ。ま、それにしてもいい名付けの彼と文通なんて雅だね。
You know, when you have like a crush or infatuated or are in a relationship with someone, doing like paper writing letters is actually pretty fun.
うるさいな。大きなお世話よ。
Oh, so it was a love letter. You're so mature, Izumi. Though, if you ask me, I think it would be prudent to read those sorts of letters in private. I could never do that.
彼新兵だから電話一つするにも周りに気を使うんだって。だ
Ah.
から手紙が一番なのよ。
This boyfriend is absolutely dead, by the way. He has so many death flags. It's been ridiculous.
堂々と書ければいいじゃん。いくら PX の公衆電話って言ったってさ、恥ずかしがってる場合？順番待ちが毎日すごいんだって。ほら、この絵軍ずっと増員でしょ。電話の台数も多くないみたいだし。
The Royal Guard's steadily increasing its ranks. Are they just opening it up for more, like, you know, like branches of the family that have like become estranged, bringing them back in to make sure that they can fill the Royal Guard bunkers, or are they just forcing more people into service?
なんかケチくさくない？増員した分電話くらい増やすでしょ普通。本当だよね。
I can certainly sympathize with their point of view, but in a larger scheme of things, a lack of phones for personal use is a rather trivial matter. They don't have to make it sound like such a travesty. Well, I don't know. Like, you're kind of right, but there also is like morale is a huge thing. Like, it might not seem like much, but like troop morale is probably almost as important as food, which actually the two are tied together in a way. And like, you know, like they say, an army marches on its stomach. It also marches on hope and the ability to like, and the dream of being able to return home someday. If they genuinely, if you have troops who genuinely are convinced that they're never going to make it back, what's this? Why would they keep listening to orders?
ほんと気楽でいいよね。武家のお嬢様方はさ。ずいぶん楽しそうだよね。軍隊なのに。違うよ。あそこってお嬢様兵隊教室なんだって。軍隊は武家子女のたしなみってこと？それじゃ花嫁修行だよ。ふん、あいつらなんだよあの言い草。平和にぶら下がってるだけのくせに。
No, maybe it is a travesty. Akia has a point. Forget phone. Shouldn't we be allowed to live a normal life in general? However, the moment we voice our desire to society, we cease to be samurai.
ごちそうさまでした。
So much left unsaid. Yui keeps so many of her thoughts inside.
お腹いっぱいで幸せ。でも次の枠が基礎双剣術で不幸せ。
That's very short-sighted. Even like to this day, if I know I'm about to exert physical activity, like strong physical activity, I eat like half of what I normally would eat. Like I do not fill up because that's just asking to be sick.
何よあんた、未来に生きるんでしょ。兵士になれるかどうかは総選部の結果次第なんだから気合い入れなよ。
Dang, that's crazy. The comprehensive combat skill evaluation. The second hurdle we must overcome to become surface pilots. Oh, wait a minute. Comprehensive. Wait, is that like is that the same thing when they dropped like Takamura and the others onto like the island and like forced them to survive in the wild? Like, was that the comprehensive combat skill evaluation? I feel like it was, but I just can't see them doing that.
ちょっと聞いてるの？装甲剣術にあんたの未来がかかってるのよ。それとこれとは別。満腹イコール眠気。
Aki is like the internal voice in my head that tells you just to keep eating and stop thinking. Oh, look at that. You're like, ugh. Armored fencing holds significant practical value. It might even be key to our success in the evaluation. However, despite our morning visit to the armored kendo practice session, not one of us has suggested that we consider joining the club. What should I do? Oh my gosh, I have choice. What? But this is an alternative game. Alternative games are canon. Oh, crap. Okay. I don't know if any of you watched like the Loki show, which by the way, first season was pretty good. Second season was okay, but had a great ending. Decent show. One of the more decent things Disney's been doing recently. A lot of their stuff's been dumpster fires, but the Loki show is all right. One of the ideas and concepts about the Loki show is they're trying to find someone who's like hopping timelines and universes. So she's like going from universe to universe and like hiding somewhere. They're like unable to track down like where they're going, despite the fact that like they should be able to with their technology of monitoring the time-space continuum. And they realize, oh, where's the one place you can go as a time traveler and do whatever you want and not be like not be detected or cause like time deviations that might be detectable from outside the time continuum that would give away your position, because time travelers interfering is exactly what causes, you know, branches and like twists to like history. It's like if you can monitor those changes and correct them, how do you hide? Well, they realize that you hide as a time traveler by going to apocalypses. Not like oh like the whole world has to end, but just go places where it doesn't matter what you do because everyone dies. You have these windows where like you can just do whatever you want because your choices cannot impact the plot or the outcome in any meaningful way, and thus even as a time traveler you can do whatever you want because anyone whose life would be altered or course corrected dies. Like they can't escape. Like they list like examples on Earth would be like going to Pompeii, like a day before, like the day of the eruption, or you know, other like disasters like that, where there's just such no reasonable way for anything you do that would normally upset a timeline to be able to do that. So maybe that's what's happening here. It's like we're entering this world where technically different things can happen, and there might be actual choices in the game. But then again, I also just realized after going on this long tirade is that all of them are about thinking. And again, it's that Yui problem where she's kind of in a state where she has all these like really dramatic, interesting, dynamic thoughts and decisive thoughts, but she never does anything with them. She just sits there quietly or talks very humbly. So think about the CCSE, think about the Armored Kendo Club, think about armored fencing. They all sound cool, but the CCSE is what I'd be most concerned about.
このA軍の英士適性が要求する身体能力は帝国軍の規定よりも高い。それはなぜか、貴様。
Saito. Why does that name sound familiar? The hair kind of looks familiar, but not quite. I feel like someone's gonna know. Like you'll probably have to tell me, because like I feel like I should know this person, like in some way, maybe like a relative of theirs.
はっ、この絵には生まれながらに負う明白なる責務があるからです。
なるほど。では明白なる責務とは何だ、貴様。はっ、
この絵に連なるもの、あまねく兵の反たれ。戦場においては先人にあり、退く際にはしんがりを務めなり。
I do like
部門の
that.
教授です。
That attitude is actually the best selling point in my opinion of having this whole structure about like the Royal Guard, giving them like the best training, the best TSFs, the best everything. But in return, the expectation is that they are the first to charge and the last to retreat. They're like the Marines, but on steroids.
その通り。規定値の高さの理由。それは、近衛は常に帝国軍人の規範であることを求められているからだ。
It's a system that's very flawed, but I do appreciate it has some cool aspects.
したがって、貴様ら武家子女の義務教育機関には、陸軍の新兵連成訓練をベースとした体育カリキュラムが取り入れられている。
Man, I really should start doing training. Like, I really should start working out officially. Like, I've started doing some stuff at home, but like, I've gotten to the point now I'm feeling better. I really should just start really pushing and getting myself in more fit. I want to be able to run for longer. I want to be able to like move my body in ways that will help keep me from like injuring myself and being able to just play and do stuff. I want to do more physically, and I'm really weak from my sickness, so I really need to actually tackle that.
今ここにいるのは、その中から適正順で選抜され、近衛軍正規衛士への第一関門。この伝統あるYamayuri女子英士訓練学校にめでたく合格した者たちだ。だが安心するな。同学年の女学生に比べ、 貴様らのアドバンテージは決して大きくないぞ。
That's true.
帝国軍英士採用水準のたかが6割を満たしたに過ぎない。これが国民の血税を使い義務教育9年間にわたる高下駄を履かしてもらった結果だ。
She's like, you're getting all the specialized treatment, specialized education, and you're still only 60% of the way there.
たかがって正規英士採用水準の 60% なら十分すごいじゃんか。
Yeah, but then you're gonna be surrounded by a bunch of other people your age that are also shooting to be qualified to be surface pilots, and a lot of them are gonna be able to make it.
秋
それは何のためだったか。英士訓練校における基礎訓練期間を圧縮し、実践的実技教練への早期移行を実現するためだ。
Yeah, so she's like, the only advantage this gives us is that you can hit specialized training sooner.
したがって貴様らは今日から6週間の初等教練で装甲剣術の基礎を完全に習得しなければならない。
Oh, okay, that explains it. So the combat efficiency might be a herald of the main one that I was thinking about, where they drop you on a desert island and just tell you to, like, you know, don't die. But like it's a pseudo version of that in the school, saying like you need to be able to prove like you can adapt and learn new skills that you've never had real good access to before now. Prove that you're capable of being taught and being able to master skills quickly to show and prove that you deserve to stick around and be part of this accelerated program.
そして5月に行われる総選部、すなわち総合戦闘武術評価試験において、貴様らは学科実技問わず初等教練すべての習熟度を測られる。
There we go.
特に基礎装甲剣術は総選部の中で最も重視される評価教練だ。
Armored fencing does sound cool. Like, I kind of wish that was a real thing. That sounds cool. Like, because I'm imagining it's not, like, armored, like, as in, like, oh, you're wearing armor fencing. Like, that sounds too basic. It might be that, but, like, I keep imagining in my head, like, a miniature TSF suit. Or kind of similar to those, like, robot suits that we see, like, the armored, like, personnel, like a gunnery equipment or something. It's basically like the bodysuit that like has a big robot arms and guns. Like that's what I'm thinking. It's like that was a sword.
だが勘違いするな。総選部は競技じゃない。勝ち負けが全てではないぞ。初等訓練で重視される1個小隊4名の連携意識、その連度、個人の資質や将来性などが評価対象になる。
So yeah, if you have a shining star that could literally carry the whole team, sure, they might pass, but the team aspect is also going to be a blemish on their record. They need to show they can work with someone.
何言ってんだよ。各項目の評価が高い小隊が結局勝つに決まってるじゃんか。ちょっとやめてよ。連帯責任になるでしょ。
Yeah, I guess one of the ways you could do it for the curriculum, like that would be kind of cool, like and cruel but cool, would be like, your score as a team is the lowest score of your squad mates. So you could have one rising star, but their score is going to be the exact same as the score of the worst performer on their team.
特に重要なのは小隊連携の意識と制度だ。なぜかわかるか？貴様。はっ！
戦術機は2個エレメント。つまり小隊による作戦行動を基本とするからです。
つまりそれはどういうことだ？答えろ。はっ！
その
解釈の余地があるものは上官に対する答えにならんと肝に銘じろ。その小さな脳みそ内で最低3回掘り下げ、それ以上解釈しようのないものに磨き上げるんだ。
はい、教官。
では貴様、答えろ。
小隊連携技能の向上が英士の延命に直結するからです。
その通りだ。英士の延命は戦力の維持を意味する。小隊の連携能力の向上は部隊に、戦線に、方面軍に、ひいては帝国、人類全体に益するんだ。
Yep. We like to think that there can be like one really awesome person, and there might be, but even the best of us is hamstringed if we have to operate alone. Working together with others, almost like universally, makes things like safer, more capable, and gives us more opportunities to be able to do what we need to do.
還元するなら貴様ら個々の能力向上が全人類の戦況を左右するに等しいということだ。国民の血税をガブ飲みして育成された近衛軍英士は たった8分で地獄から退場するなどという楽隠居は絶対に許されないと知れ。
Departing for hell after barely 8 minutes of combat had passed is a capital sin. That's crazy. Yes, ma'am.
さて、この実戦適性を図る正規衛士への第二関門を突破すれば、貴様らは晴れて中等教練課程への移行が許される。つまり戦術機教習が始まるということだ。
Yeah.
二刀流や小銃運用を含む中隊規模の応用装甲剣術協定、シミュレーターあるいは実機による操縦訓練、機体構造を把握するための整備実習などを通じ、より実践的な技能を習得していくことになる。
Interesting.
だがそれはあくまで総選部を突破できた者だけが手にする資格だ。修了水準に満たぬ者は再教育課程送りとなり、4週間後の追試に合格しなければ転科処分となる。
Fail once, you get another chance, but you're gonna have to really work hard. If you fail second time, you are not gonna be a surface pilot. You're immediately gonna be forced by, like, you don't get to choose, into some other program. That's crazy.
喜んでいいぞ。その場合、ほとんどが機械化歩兵化に再配属だ。生地英士適性が高いだけにな。
Mechanized infantry is like tanks and stuff, you know. The real fun positions on the front lines of the beta war.
もう一ついいことを教えておいてやる。私たち教官は貴様らを育て上げ、一発の英士にするために存在するのではないぞ。
No, no, it's to weed out those of you who don't have what it takes.
ミス、油断、その他クソったれな理由で自分が死ぬばかりか、戦友を巻き添えにして殺す能なしどもを徹底的にあぶり出し、
Yeah.
ここから
Ooh, I just had a thought. So, it's very likely that some people are not going to make it. What if one or two of our people, like our squad, don't get the cut? And then they start reforming new squads after we have to say goodbye to some of our squad mates? Because right now it feels like, oh, happy-go-lucky. But, like, what if, like, Aki and Izumi don't make it? And they just get cut from the program? And then we reform, and they maybe that's where that one other girl, like, can't remember her family name, the one who's, like, giving us the cold eyes. What if she ends up being joint to our squad because some of her squad mates failed? And, like, that's how she becomes a, like, more intrinsic part of the story. That would be interesting.
人間とベータと泥と糞尿をミキサーにかけてぶちまけた戦場に、クソ重い強化外骨格を担いだまま食い殺されるまで這いつくばりたくなかったら死に物狂いでやれ。いいな、教官殿。
Yes, ma'am. Passing the comprehensive exam is a matter of life and death for us in every sense of the word. Even so, that's not our ultimate goal. How could it be? How could it be when an intermediate course is the real starting point for any surface pilot cadet? Well, I shouldn't get ahead of myself. Teamwork carries significant weight within the CCSE, and unfortunately, we have our work cut out for us. Not only do we need to cement our cohesion as a group, but we must also improve our fighting skills. Yeah, I would say cohesion's not looking great, because so far you're all nice to each other, but no one actually says anything. And then, like, it seems like you're really being, also a lot of the squad is being dismissive, and have you guys really trained at all? Like, I haven't seen that yet. I hope you have. Considering the topic hasn't been brought up since this morning, it's safe to assume all interest in joining the Armored Kendo Club is dissipated. I know everyone well enough to understand bringing it up again would be pointless. I don't know. Sometimes you have to be, like, I don't know, the propeller that pushes the ship forward. Right now, all I can do is figure out how to do things our own way.
どうしたのユイ？なんか深刻な顔しちゃって。
Alright, that's also a decent thumbnail.
ああ、斉藤助教がしてくれた総選部の話、ちょっと思い出しちゃって。
ああ、初めての装甲剣術教練のやつ。なんか機械化歩兵化の話で散々脅かされたよね。気持ち悪いの思い出しちゃった。死体と死骸のスープに食い殺されるまでツップスってやつね。結局兵士になってもパワーアウトすれば同じ運命だとか言ってさ。
Yeah.
もう最悪。
Ugh.
も んな過去の重い話忘れようよ。私たちは未来に向いて生きようぜ。
I don't know.
未来って言えば放課後にはグラウンド20周もあるの忘れないでね。
もう戦術決め。あいつには血も涙もないのかよ。
Tactical surface fiend. I like that.
だからあれは私たちが喋ってたから。
そうかもしれないけどさ、入学以来どの教官も同じような話何回もするし、いい加減集中しろって方が無理だよ。
This girl.
教官はみんな実践経験がある方ばかりよ。教科に関係なく同じことを言うならそれだけ大切だってことでしょ。
ゆいの言う通りだよ。生き残った人の言葉なんだし、ちゃんと。
その通りだよ、シマコ。生き残るための戦訓なら余計別の話も聞きたいと思わないか。
そりゃそうだけど。
I think you grabbed the wrong bit of intel from that sentence, Aki.
戦術機のやつもともと帝国軍でしょ。だったらこの絵を嫌ってるはずだし、私たちを無知のまま戦場に送ろうとしてるのかも。
Oh my gosh, this is so like teenage syndrome right here. Like assuming like, oh, I can see the truth. I know what's happening.
どれだけ想像力豊かなのよ。果たしてそうかな。
何よその自信。
疑似生態治療があるのにこれ見よがしに眼帯なんかして怪しくない？今時威圧にもならないのにさ。
まあそれは思わないでもないけど、さすがにね。
私の予想ではあれ伊達眼帯だよ。大陸での負傷は本当だろうけど、とっくに疑似生態の目が入ってるって。はいはい、分かったから。怪しい。
Zooey, come on.
そうなのかな。確かにあの眼帯は私たちに戦場の現実を実感させる意図もあると思う。でも自戒のために疑似生態療法を使わない人だって真田教官にも何か事情があるんじゃないかな。
So I remember she was thinking of her uncle, or I don't think he's truly her uncle though, right? Like he's Itawa or Iwata, but he's like he becomes like her pseudo father.
少なくとも訓練校にいる間はそのままでいいよって思う理由が。そういうもんなのかな。
Well, that conversation went nowhere. God, it's so weird hearing those chimes again. Whew, it's been a while. Several minutes later. Oh, hey, look, it's an actual, like, a TSF compound.
それまで下がれ。レイ。
ありがとうございました。ったく教官分隊無敵すぎ。相変わらず容赦ないわ。
Interesting. These are like pseudo flight suits, because like they almost look like protective gear for playing like sports. And they've got like sweaters on underneath them.
特に真田斎藤分隊はね。初日の連携時稽古もあのペアにズタボロにされたし。
Oh, duh. Armored fencing. They're wearing armor for the fencing. I was wondering what they wear, and this is what it is. It is armor for the armored fencing, but it represents flight suits rather than traditional armor. It's brilliant. I love it. Can I get some of this?
いつになったら教官から一本取ってやれんだろう。早く吠え面書かせてやりたいよ。
How about we practice?
じゃあ装甲剣道部もう一度考えてみる？教官倒すならそれが一番の近道だよ。
それはそれ、これはこれ。
Shut your face, Aki. We should join.
もうそれにしても2人に4人がかりで訓練とかすりもしないってさ。
頭数以外全てを取っているんだし。
Oh, I clicked early. I'm sorry.
ほんと腹が立つな。
So she said, well, the other numbers the instructors have us be in every department. The whole thing set up assuming we'll lose.
敗北っていう経験から学べってことだよ。それが自分であれ、他人のものであれ。
And take something even more if someone actually manages to win.
だから待機組はこうやって見取り稽古してるんだよね。
でも負けて学ぶっていうのはただの教練方針だよ。 私たちが勝っちゃいけないって規則じゃない。
Yeah, yeah.
そうだね。
さすがユイ、いいこと言う。じゃあここで問題です。あの C 正体の陣形は何でしょうか？
ウェッジワンかな。
正解はユイ、ウェッジ2だよ。ブブー、惜しい。シマコ残念。残念なのはあんたでしょ。
始め。
Oh, there he is. It's funny.
それに
The
してもさ
animations mimic what they actually do with the TSF animations.
やっぱり素人丸出しだね、私ら。
仕方ないよ。私たちついこの間始めたばかりなんだから。
だいたい双剣部の先輩方と比べること自体無意味よ。あっちは入校以来教練のコマ数と朝夕の部活をみっちり積み上げてるんだから。でもさ、いくら私たちが自分たちなりに強くなろうと思ってもさ、基本の方以外何にも教えてくれないのってどうなの？
Because you use the basics to improve yourself in your own way. Like, that's how it's supposed to work. Like, you learn the basics and then develop your own technique. And then advance that technique as they teach you more and more.
それは前に教官が言ったよね。困難を自力で克服する訓練なんだって。
実践形式を重視し、臨機応変な応用力を養う。つまり経験から学び、見て盗んで自分の頭で考えろってことよ。でもさ、あれだけ連携って言われると、そっちのこともちゃんと教えてよって思うわ。
They are. They just want you to take initiative. God, it's so dumb, but it's like at the same time, it's part of being a kid. It's part of growing up. It makes a lot of sense there. Because here's the thing: if they were holding their hand and giving them instructions on like how to do every little thing, she'd be complaining like, "I have no creativity. I just have to do things their way. If I try to do, I want to do things my way. I think I've got some insights to be able to offer." It's like there'd always be a way to complain.
確かにね。せめて自芸校終わりに欠点の指摘やアドバイスくらいしてくれてもね。
I guess that is a little interesting. They don't do that.
でしょ？まったく、総選部まであと6週間だってのにさ。
But again, they might be waiting to see if teams can formulate and like might rally around maybe like a single leader who can actually do that instead, because that's the idea. Is like the squads are supposed to be self-sufficient and self-correcting.
まああんたはさ、他の実技や筆記試験の心配もした方がいいと思うけどね。
Again, decent picture options here. I like these battle suits. I really do. Aki and Izumi are bickering like always, but despite their squabbling, their eyes remain glued to the ongoing kendo drills. It's a sign they're keenly aware of how important armored fencing is to our overall evaluation. This one course will decide our future.
総合戦闘武術評価試験、いわゆる総選部は貴様らの実践的英視適性を測る第二関門だ。そこで初等基礎訓練の成果を発揮できなければ再教育課程を送り、最悪天下処分になる。
I wonder if like the way the plot's gonna go is we're gonna fail the first one and we're gonna have to work hard for the second one.
その評価項目中、最も多くの配点を占めるのが小隊隊員の装甲剣術技能検定だ。
Every single student in this school comes from a noble samurai family. Despite this, we didn't make it into the Yamayuri by virtue of our birth. There were several barriers we had to overcome. Thus, we understand what it means to be found unfit to serve as a service pilot. The instructors are overwhelmingly strong, and at this early stage, defeat is a natural outcome, but while frustration is palpable in the air, our eyes glimmer with determination as well.
白一本、それまで下がれ。
また制限時間前に教官分隊の干渉だよ。
たった8分なのに候補生が最後までフィールドに残ってたこと一度もないよね。
That's a cool detail. They're essentially giving them their first 8 minutes of death.
でも惜しかったよ C 正体。あと2分持ちこたえたら判定負けに持ち込めた。
Izumi picked a strange way to say it, but her words hinted a critical point. Cadet squads tend to lose by complete wipeout. Not a single squad thus far has survived long enough to lose by decision. Still, we don't intend to run a clock out. The goal is to defeat the instructors.
作戦確認しておこう。フォーメーションはウィング1、右翼は私と島子、真田教官をマーク、左翼は秋と泉、斎藤助教をマーク。 開始の号令で駆け足。
So it's 4 versus 2 instructors? Yeah, the best thing to do would be to divide and flank. It's not gonna work, obviously, but the best idea, in my opinion, would be to try and pull them out, and then whoever has the strongest force remaining, because someone's probably gonna be eliminated while you're like trying to separate the 2 instructors, flank around and try and like put pressure on one and eliminate one, like one down, then the other one go down.
体型は維持したまま弧を描いて前進。教官分隊を左右から包み込むように展開する。戦術機と斎藤助教を背中合わせにさせて連携を分断する。
And now back to back with each other, that just puts them up against a determined and safe wall. That's no different than facing them head on.
2対1の個別状況を作ったと思わせておいてから全員一斉に切りかかる。おとりの私が助教に仕留められている隙に秋が真田の背後右四角から切りかかる。
Okay, so they're kind of doing this, but I still think that the crux of this plan would have to be separating them.
私とユイは正面左右から3対1の数的優位で真田教官を討ち取る。
互いに礼。次 D 小隊開始戦へ。
いよいよ私たちの番だね。
Here's the third. I think of 2 things immediately. First of all, this is exactly the same pose we took for the lacrosse arc, which is just a great callback to really, really old school extra. And secondly, I cannot help but think of the line from A Knight's Tale: "You've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found wanting." And it's like this is just exactly that scene.
大丈夫。作戦通りにやればうまくいくよ。よーし。今日こそ一矢報いてやる。
あまり張り切りすぎると放課後きついわよ。
D 小隊おかっちませ。かしこま。
Oh, that's kind of cute.
よし行こう。
There we go.
互いに礼。
Yeah, okay, so it's these 2 instructors that we've seen. It's those 2 versus these 4.
位置につけ。 始め。
There we go. There we go. The instructors practically dance around the field, leaving no room for blind spots. Off, here they come. Flying in. Good, just like that. Oh, they did split up. Oh, so dramatic. It's so dramatic. Everything's going according to plan so far, but the moment we let a poker faces slip, it's over. Everyone's out of breath. And they're not. Instructor Sada's our priority target. Sanada's. He might be missing an eye, but the man easily outclassed the rest of us and the rest of the teaching staff. That's why the 3 squads before us aimed for Instructor Saito instead. Striking at enemies' weak points is common sense. However, when everybody adopts the same strategy, common sense will only take you so far. Besides, Instructor Saito is a formidable swordswoman in her own right. Hardly what you'd consider a weak link, so we had to think outside the box. They're just quiet. Isn't that cool? They're like, they don't need to communicate with the basics that they're running. They just know what each other's gonna do. Well, that's not quite right, since the instructors expect us to focus our efforts on bringing down their perceptive weak link. Common sense in this case dictates we should betray their expectations. Now! Go, go, go!
白一本。
Go, go, go! Get him! Oh, fetch! Ooh. Oh, fetch! He saw through us! Darn it, we need to do something or we lose. Oh, he dodged. What? Watch for his companion. Where's the other instructor? Where's the other instructor? Don't get tunnel glisten. Too close. That was too close. To think all he needs is to break my stance. I'm lucky Instructor Sanada didn't step forward 2 or 3 centimeters more. If he did, he would have sent my face guard flying and knocked me out on the spot. Watch. 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 This is how a veteran of actual combat fights. Now I need to get a grip. We haven't lost yet. Wait, why are Aki and Shimako fighting back to back? The instructors are driving a wedge between us. We didn't account for this. We need to do something, but what? Our team has 0 experience improvising on the fly. In that case, since teamwork's out of the equation, we'll have to rely on whatever we learned before enrolling here.
いつまで休んでるつもりだ。貴様ら、時間切れまでそうしてるつもりか。
No, Aki, no. Good, head straight for him. Right, according to plan. Get him. Wait a minute. Ooh. Ow. Did he take them both out in one swing?
白一本、それまで。
Air can't breathe. Oh, that's the worst. Get the wind knocked out of you. It feels awful. It sucks. Your body tells you're suffocating when you just have to reinflate your lungs. Because what happens is that, like, if you've ever noticed, water has like surface tension. It's like ionized, so like it tends to stick to itself. So your lungs, even when you breathe out as much as you feel like you can, your lungs don't actually fully collapse because your body tries to prevent that from happening. Because when it does, you have to force them open. Your diaphragm has to pull really hard, and it takes a lot of like effort to kind of overcome that natural molecular bonding, like the polarization of the water, and you have to force air into it. And so like you'll be there for a second, you'll be like, you can't breathe, and you go. Like you have to gasp and you feel your diaphragm just like yanking from underneath your rib cage. What just happened? What in the world just happened?
Takamura. 回線まで戻るんだ。
Instructor Sanada? What about the fight? Oh, I see. It's done. I see. I have to stand up. Oh. Oh, he actually gave some feedback. She hesitated. What did she hesitate about?
たくさ大人げないにも程があるよ。素人相手にさ。
No, I think it's important. There's an important lesson there. Moral code. What was the moral code? Like, was she worried? Did she hesitate because her ally was about to be, like, attacked, maybe? Like, she was worried, like, she was essentially sacrificing the pawn, which, you know, sounds awful, but, like, it's sometimes, especially their plan kind of hinged on a sacrifice. Why did she still hesitate if that was the case? All right, but we're going to stop here for now. Really interesting, some dynamic stuff, really good learning opportunities there, and yeah, we're seeing very fledgling characters. Yui becomes such a champion and very much outspoken, so it's really interesting to seeing her be so much more withdrawn and not as willing to like drive the team forward. She's got the capability, we know it. So I'm really interested to see how this ends up playing out in the long term. But yeah, very, very exciting, very cool to see. We'll have to find out next time how things go. But like I said, I think it would make a more interesting story if they ended up failing the CCSE the first time, and they have to like push hard to try and survive the second one. It would also echo what we see in Unlimited and Alternative, because Team A01 also had failed the first time and had to go through a second time, and it made it a lot more dramatic and kind of showed this idea of like a team dynamic that grew and overcame the problems they were facing when it came to cohesion and capability and being able to like make sacrifices. So really, really cool stuff. And again, so it's heralding back to these themes of like the training arcs that we see in Unlimited and other side stories, which is really fun to see again, just because most of the time we've been focusing on like active combat situations rather than this training feeling, which is really like, it's almost nice. It's almost like slice of lifey, and I've always enjoyed a good slice of life. So while we know it's gonna go to hell quickly, at least we're enjoying this much of it, and I kind of seeing the growing stages, which is really fun. Anyway, I've said fun a lot. Sorry, I'm having a good time here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel and for this series, and thank you to the patrons and members. I don't think I thanked you properly at the last episode. Really sorry about that. I was just kind of like in my own world, but thank you so much for your direct support. It means the world to me. I'm going to do everything I can to be worthy of that support. I'm going to keep trying my best to be able to make good content that's dynamic and fascinating and fun to interact with, and just keeps you coming back for more, ideally. Like, I'm just going to do what I love, and I'm going to make the best content I can out of it. So hopefully that's enough. And if you have any comments or want to let me know about what I could do to make things better, please let me know. But other than that, thank you so much, because anyone who's here and still watching this especially, like, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to reading or replying to all your comments, and just, you know, it means the world to me that you're even taking the time. So thank you. And until next video, watch me or happen to see me in next. I'll see you there.